how do you grade a sloping surface? In this course, first we graded for flat surfaces, all right, a flat pad, and that's really common to place a building on. Right? And then we graded sloping surfaces for roads and walkways. They're kind of a special case. They're long and narrow. Now let's talk about sloped surfaces such as a plaza or a sports field or a parking lot. All right, they're a uniform sloped surfaces that is mostly but not quite flat. All right, it's important to have a minimum slope for drainage, minimum of 1%, and it's important to have a maximum slope, all right, of 5%, and that's for comfort. Right, as people use this space to perceive it as flat. Right? Your sloping surfaces have to be designed in such a way that the water drains off, and we don't want to create any ponds or puddles. There's 3 basic approaches for directing water across a paved area, and they are very similar to what we saw with roads and walkways. Right? They're a crown, a valley, and a tilted base. So let's take a look at an example sloped surface. All right, a crown is when you have a higher point along the middle, right, and the water is going to sheet off towards the edges. And notice that your sloped surface is also sloped in this direction in addition to that curve. Right. A valley is when your sloped surface, right, is bent in this direction, right, directing the water to kind of a central stream. And finally, the tilted base is when your sloped surface is also tilted in the other direction and has one corner lower than the rest. Let's take a look at some photo examples from your textbook. Here we have a parking lot, all right, with a crown, and you can see that because of these diagonal sloped lines. These are just like these lines right here. So the water is going to run in direction perpendicular to those lines. Eventually, as it makes its way over here, it's going to be caught by that curb and directed to a catch basin. Here is the crown shown for a sports field. It's typically more of the curve or elliptical, and it's going to be a very slight crown. And that's going to direct water, all right, to the edges, and in this case it's caught by a swale. Here's the opposite solution, a valley, and notice that kind of the V shape, the chevron's going the other direction, and therefore the water is directed to a central depression. All right, and we can see that in this photo, and it can be caught by a swale or a catch basin in that way. This one is popular for parking lots because if you notice, we tend to park around the edges of our parking lots, and in this case, it's directing the water away from the parking spots and away from the people as they get in and out of their cars. The last one was called the tilted base, and your textbook didn't have a picture of this one for some reason, but it looks a lot like half of a crown or half of a valley. All right, so we've got these diagonal contour lines. They're all pointing in one direction. The water is sheeting from the high point over here to the low point over there, in which case you would want to catch it and take it out. Right, in section, it would look like this. And we're going to walk through one of the examples in your textbook of a tilted base sloping site like this, and it'll look like this.